Don't you believe me?
Poor thing.
She got what she wanted. Her face is face up in the basket. It's unnatural. But who wants to see the back of Marie Antoinette's head? It only looks like the back of any other Canadian's head. And Marie Antoinette was no Canadian, that's for sure.
You can really see her face. It's horrible.
No. Her face kind of looks like the face of a virgin, come to think of it. Maybe when the axe fell, she saw herself as a virgin again. Maybe under the blade she became pure. Who knows? See, that face down there looks a lot like yours. How about that, George?
Please. I'm not as innocent as you think I am.
Oh, come off it, Sally Ann. Your mouth may not have blood trickling out of it, and your mouth may not be open as though you've swallowed an egg in its shell. And your eyes may not be blue, pale blue, the color of pain and happiness. But you've got a virgin's face if I ever saw one.
Frank says it's good to be pure.
Frank. Frank! What does Frank care about virginity? Would he be down in the Chamber of Horrors if he cared about virginity? And Marie Antoinette is not the only suffering girl down there, that's for sure.
You mean there are more atrocities down there?
Where did they bring you up anyways? In one of our Canadian convents, is that it? Some old Canuck with a shaved head and rimless spectacles and rosy cheeks, wearing a long black robe with deflated breast, deflated, you know. Did they draw the veil over your eyes? Is that it?
I had a normal life.
Normal. Normal, do you hear that, George? A girl who's never been in the Chamber of Horrors, and that's normal. They've kept you in brutal ignorance, my girl. Brutal ignorance.
I know some facts of life, I tell you.
Facts of life. You. You're ignorant. You're blind all over. They haven't broken your seal yet, and they never will.
Frank, where are you? Frank?
Don't worry, he's down there, just oogling Joan of Arc amongst the rest of the clergy.
Saint Joan?
Can you believe it? Joan of Arc with all of her armor ripped off. It's quite a sight.
Oh, you're teasing me. I should have known you're only teasing me.
Can you blame them? They were only trying to prove she was a woman. Like you. Like me. Even in the fire they couldn't keep off. You can ask Frank, ask George here. They're all the same. Joan of Arc was ignorant. But she had pretty legs. Not as pretty as your legs, though.
There's nothing pretty about me.
Oh, come off it, Sal. Hasn't Frank ever told you that you've got attractive legs?
Frank wouldn't talk about my legs. He's not that kind.
A celibate. A real celibate. That's one thing you can say about George not here. He's not reticent. He's no celibate.
Frank is a very silent man.
Think so? You'll find out.
If he wouldn't talk about my legs, I wouldn't want him to.
What are we going to do with her, George? She's helpless. A real bride-to-be.
Frank says I have a good disposition.
Mary, queen of all the stupid girls in Canada. Do you hear that? Down there heart pounding at 100 miles an hour, and his eyes popping out of his head at the sight of an aborted baby being carried off by a tomcat, a garden variety tomcat. And a 13-year-old heretic girl stretched out naked on the rack. And the Lord High Executioner, with a few other ballsy chaps, shoving a white-hot poker up King Richard's skinny old rump. And Jack the Ripper, cutting up a fish girl in Haymarket Square. And a 9-year-old Chinaman burning incense and gouging out the eyes of a coolie on his knees. And a black African prince with zebra stripes drinking the blood of a young missionary's beautiful wife. And Frank, your Frank, talking about good disposition.
I can see that poor baby in the jaws of the cat. I see it.
The whole world is hungry, Sally Ann.
I smell the blood.
Blood and ecstasy, that's the ticket.
And the fish girl in Haymarket Square.
She stinks, you can bet your life on it. But that Jack the Ripper is a real wild one. There's no stopping him.
The missionary's wife with her poor forgiving eyes.
You're hopeless. A real bride to be.
The girl in the rack. How small she is, how white. Her ribs are like fingers wrapped around her chest.
And Bluebeard. There's a lovely one of Bluebeard and his youngest wife. That's what you're going to be, Sally Ann. The youngest wife.
But Frank's down there. Frank's alone down there.
He's not alone.
He's alone down there smelling the blood.
He's enjoying himself. He's having a good time.
Alone, staring at Marie Antoinette's face. Alone, wanting to kiss the lips on her poor severed head.
Why doesn't it rot? Why doesn't her head rot?
I should have obeyed him. I should have gone down into the Chamber of Horrors and held Frank's hand.
If I had your disposition, if I had your legs, I wouldn't worry about spending the rest of my life in a wax museum. You do have pretty legs, Sally Ann, and you've got an attractive face. Hasn't Frank ever told you that? Your legs are beautiful and white and thin. It's just like George told me. There's no hair on Mooseneck Betty's legs, and there's none on yours either. Honest to God, that's what he told me. But he wasn't talking about me, Sally Ann. He was talking about you. And look, you've even got silk stockings on, silk stockings. Well, if I had stockings like those, I'd walk out of this palace free as air. George and I would pack our bags and take the first bus to Niagara Falls. We'd arrive in the height of the afternoon. We'd leave our bags at the depot and go straight to the banks of the falls. Can't you see it, Sally Ann? Indecent behavior in a public place. We'd take off all of our clothes, just me and my stockings and George and his boots. And we'd stand there and hold hands while the tourists got out their cameras and fired away.
Take them.
What?
The stockings, they're yours.
Well, that's the ticket. I knew you'd say that, Sally Ann. You're much better off with your legs bare, don't you say? Have you ever really noticed your feet before? 10 fat little toes for some lucky fella? Your legs are so long and white
Do they fit?
Oh yes, they're perfect. They fit just like wax. They're gorgeous.
I've never seen my foot before.
George is crazy about bare feet.
Am I really better off with bare legs?
George is crazy about bare legs. He's got his eye on you, my girl.
When I was a little young girl at the community swimming pool, I caught the itch. It's a terrible itch between the toes.
What am I going to do with her, George? She's morbid.
I took the home cure. It was successful. I have clean feet now.
You're hopeless.